Zoom, 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 zoom.
Zap, 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 zap.
Zoom, zoom, zoom. Zoom, 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 zoom.
Zip, 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 zip.
Zoom, 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 zoom.
Hey, Cougs.
Welcome back to Season 7, Episode 12 of the Fair and Balanced News You Can Trust. Let's launch this episode.
Zip, zap, 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 zap. Zip,
Zap,
zap.
zap, zoom, zoom, zoom.
Houston, we have a problem.
Well, Cougs, today we'll be talking about the mission of humanity to explore space. But to understand how we got there, let's learn about the OG moon visitors, the crew of the Apollo missions.
Good morning, everyone. Today on Curious Times, we're taking a trip back in time to one of the greatest achievements in human history, NASA's Apollo's program and the incredible mission that took us to the moon.
That's right, the Apollo program was launched by NASA in the 1960s with the goal to land humans on the moon and bring them back to safety to Earth. It all began after the President John F. Kennedy's famous 1961 speech when he challenged the nation to reach the moon before the decade was out.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
The program included a total of 17 missions from Apollo 1 to Apollo 17. It wasn't an easy journey. The first major tragedy struck in 1967 when a cabin fire during the ground test for Apollo 1 claimed the lives of Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee.
After years of testing and preparation, success finally came with Apollo 11. On July 16, 1969, astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins blasted off from Kennedy Space Center aboard the Saturn V rocket. 4 days later, Armstrong and Aldrin descended to the lunar surface on the lunar module Eagle.
And then came a moment that changed history. On 1969, Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon and delivered his iconic words,
"One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind."
The Apollo missions did not stop there. Apollo 12 followed later that year, and Apollo 13 in 1970 became both famous its near disaster when an oxygen tank exploded mid-flight. Thanks to the quick thinking of a teamwork in the crew, Jim Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred Haise made it safely home, proving NASA's resilience and ingenuity.
In total, 6 Apollo missions landed on the moon. Between 1969 and 1972, astronauts collected rock samples, conducting experiments that even drove lunar rovers across the surface. The final mission, Apollo 17, marked the end of an era, but also the beginning of a new chapter in space exploration.
The Apollo program inspired generations of scientists, engineers, and dreamers. It showed that humanity can achieve when curiosity, courage, and collaboration come together.
From tragedy to triumph,
The Apollo missions remain a shining example of exploration at its best.
and NASA prepares for a new mission to the moon and beyond.
The spirit of Apollo continues to guide the way.
Wow, those are real heroes taking the bold steps for others to follow.
Let's see what is new in space exploration.
Good morning, Cougars. Welcome back to SNTV. Today we are taking a look at one of NASA's most ambitious missions, the Artemis program, a bold plan to return to the moon for the first time in over 50 years.
That's right, the Artemis program is named after the Greek goddess of the moon and twin sister of Apollo, a fitting tribute to the original Apollo missions that first took astronauts to the lunar surface in 1969.
NASA's plan began on October 11, 2010, when President Obama signed into law the NASA Authorization Act of 2010.
This permitted the Artemis program to begin in 2017 with the goal to land the first woman and the next man on the moon.
The mission is divided into 3 main parts: Artemis 1,
Artemis 2,
and Artemis 3.
Artemis 1 launched in November 2022, an uncrewed test flight of the powerful Space Launch System rocket and the Orion spacecraft. It orbited the moon and safely returned to Earth, proving the systems were ready for human spaceflight.
Next up is Artemis 2, scheduled to carry 4 astronauts around the moon.
This will be the first crewed mission beyond low Earth orbit since Apollo in 1972.
The crew includes NASA astronauts Ray Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Koff, and Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen,
marking the first time a non-American would travel that far into space.
Then comes Artemis 3, the big one. This mission aims to land astronauts near the lunar South Pole, a region never explored by humans.
The Artemis program isn't just about exploration. It's about building a sustainable presence on the moon.
NASA hopes to establish a lunar base and use what's learned there to prepare for the future missions to Mars.
It's a new era of space exploration, combing international partnerships, cutting-edge technology, and a renewed spirit of discovery. The Artemis generation is ready to take humanity further than ever before.
From the Apollo footprints of the past to the Artemis missions of the future, the journey continues.
That's all for today's Science Spotlight for SNTV. I'm Delana.
And I'm Miranda. Stay curious, Cougs!
Let's move on to sports and see what they're up to.
On April 17th, softballing and fly against Cleburne at the Workman Softball Complex. JV at 7 p.m., varsity at 5:30. On April 16th, Planet JV Base Ballion launches to Timberview on our planet at 5 p.m. On April 14th, Varsity Base Ballion launches against Timberview on our planet at 7 p.m. On April 17th, Varsity Base Ballion launches to Timberview on their planet at 7 p.m.
On April 16th and 17th, Trackius has an area track meet at Herman Clark Stadium. On April 13th, Tennis Stallion plays in a JV district tournament at Burleson at 8 a.m. With sports out of the way,
there's only a couple more things we have to talk about.
Waiting to buy us here. You guys better hurry up and buy y'all because it is.
Yep, it is only $70 and you can buy it at either pk12.com or CO2 for Coach Rodriguez to buy this year.
Seniors, prom is right around the corner. Prom tickets will go on sale starting April 1st.
Early sale begins April 1st for $80. Starting April 13th, ticket sale goes up to $100.
Buy your tickets early.
You can purchase tickets online through PK12 or cash to the bookkeeper.
If you are bringing a non-Seguin student as a guest, you need a guest approval form.
See Ms. Crowder in A118 and all forms are due May 13th.
thank you for tuning into this week's episode of SNTV.
We will be back next time with more stories, sports, and Cougar energy.
Until then, stay loud, stay proud, and stay Cougar strong. Thank you for watching SNTV.